Chapter 1009. This is a giant dragon. Void Ancestor and Jailer's eyes went wide. They had also heard of the legends of giant dragons. Since ancient times, although there weren't many who had seen a giant dragon, there were many records regarding them. According to the legends, once a giant dragon matured, it would become a demonic king. Even the weakest among them would be 10 times stronger than life and death kings of the same realm. Their strength could knock down stars, and their claws were comparable to divine weapons. Their scales were equivalent to supreme-grade armors. Their dragon breath had the power to destroy everything, and their dragon might could even slow down the enemy's movements. The weak ones couldn't even move. Giant dragons were creatures at the apex of the chain of life. In Elysium's legends, only phoenixes that could rise from the ashes could compare to giant dragons. But in terms of strength, phoenixes were inferior to giant dragons. Void Ancestor and Jailer had never imagined that Elysium would have a living giant dragon. Moreover, this giant dragon had clearly reached the demonic king realm. Finally here. Xianhou felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from her shoulders. Although Su Jing's arrival didn't mean that they could turn defeat into victory, they had at least gained a powerful new force. Relying on a woman's intuition, Murong Qingqing vaguely guessed that this giant dragon that had suddenly appeared was Su Jing, whom she had never met before. She was Yi Chen's senior sister in Sky Cloud sect. Giant golden dragon, what a strange identity. Murong Qingqing retracted her gaze, no longer being distracted. The giant golden dragon is on our side. There's hope for this war. With Yi Chen and the giant golden dragon, victory will be ours. Su Jing's addition greatly boosted the morale of Elysium's side. Everyone seemed to have been injected with chicken blood, becoming incomparably vigorous. Many of them even broke through their limits and advanced a step further. Senior sister Su Jing, you are finally here. Yi Chen smacked his lips as he looked at the golden dragon that was thousands of miles long. He had never imagined that a true dragon would be so huge. Back in the dragon transformation pool, Su Jing was only a dozen meters long. But now, a single eye of hers was the size of a mountain. Junior brother Yi, I didn't expect the situation here to be so bad. If I had known, I would have left the dragon transformation pool earlier. Su Jing's voice rang out in Yi Chen's mind. Sharpening the axe will not delay the work of cutting firewood. It's not too late to come now. I'll leave the 6-star devil to you. Once you kill them, our chances of winning will increase by 10 to 20%. Now was not the time for nonsense, Yi Chen continued. All right. Su Jing's huge body swam around, and she charged toward the nearest 6-star demon king. Along the way, she got rid of a dozen demon kings who couldn't dodge in time. I don't care if you are a dragon or not. Take my spear. The 6-star devil that was closest to Su Jing was 3 meters tall and had a dozen bone spikes on his back. When he saw the golden dragon swimming towards him, he was shocked at first. Then, a ferocious expression appeared on his face. This ferocious expression was too deliberate. It gave people a feeling that he was strong on the outside but weak on the inside. It was obvious that he was frightened by the identity of the golden dragon. Poof! Bang! The dark light of the spear cut through the sky and pierced through the dragon scales on the golden dragon's body. Immediately, golden blood spurted out from the wound like a golden river. At the same time, the golden dragon's claws sent the other party flying. He spat out 7 or 8 mouthfuls of blood, and his body was almost destroyed. The so-called golden dragon is just so. Although he was more seriously injured, the 6-star devil laughed out loud. The defense of the golden dragon's dragon scales wasn't as high as he had imagined. It couldn't reach the level of a top-grade defensive armor. Is that so? Golden blood spurted out like a river, but Su Jing didn't care about it at all. This bit of blood was only a drop in the ocean to her body that was several thousand kilometers long, and it wasn't worth mentioning. But one couldn't help but notice that this huge body was indeed invincible when dealing with weak demon kings, but it was a bit of a hindrance when dealing with a 6-star demon king. It wasn't that agile when dodging, and she was completely a live target. Then let's become smaller. The golden light condensed and Su Jing's body shrank rapidly. From thousands of miles long, she was only a few dozen meters long. The dragon scales that were as big as a lake had shrunk to the size of a bowl. Although her body had shrunk, the light that she emitted was even more intense. It was like a golden flame. Kill! With a flash of black light, the devil stabbed with his spear again. Ding! The result was completely different from the last time. The dark spear only left a shallow mark on the dragon scales. It couldn't break through the defense at all. It seemed that the smaller the body, the higher the defense of the dragon scales. Impossible. As if he didn't believe that he couldn't break through the opponent's defense, the devil exerted all his strength and stabbed with his spear again. The sharp spear light was like a cutting machine, cutting through the golden dragon scales. But the result was the same. He still couldn't break through the defense. Now, it's my turn. Opening her dragon mouth, Su Jing spat out a ball of dazzling golden light at the devil. Boom! The intense light exploded and more than half of the devil's body was vaporized. At the crucial moment, the devil's spear sliced through the golden light and was only hit by half of it. Too strong. Run! Su Jing's strength caused fear to rise in the devil's heart. Her defense was comparable to a peak-grade low-grade armor, and her offense far surpassed his. How could he fight against her? Humph, you think you can escape? After shrinking, although Su Jing's speed had decreased, she was still terrifyingly fast. In just a few breaths, she caught up to the devil and lashed out with her tail. Ping! The speed of the tail was too fast. The devil was forcefully smashed apart, turning into a blood mist. Regather my body. A furious roar rang out as the blood mist condensed. How could Su Jing give her opponent the chance to condense a physical body? She opened her dragon mouth, and a dazzling light wave rushed into the blood mist. With a rumbling sound, all the blood mist evaporated, as if it had never existed. Too strong. This is the might of a giant dragon. Many devil kings were shocked. In the records, giant dragons had no weaknesses. When they were large, they could destroy an entire continent. When they were small, the defense of their dragon scales would reach the limit, comparable to a peak-grade defensive armor. Other than that, the giant dragon's dragon breath was extremely destructive. Those weaker than the giant dragon might be instantly killed by the dragon breath. As expected of a giant dragon. Yi Chen saw all this and was inwardly shocked by the giant dragon's destructive power. The Troll Emperor frowned and sent a soul message to the other devil kings, don't be scared by her destructive power. Her true combat power is only at the peak of 6-star. Surround her and kill her. The Troll Emperor's eyes were sharp. Although Su Jing had easily killed a 6-star devil, it didn't mean that she was so powerful. The giant dragon's strength lay in its overwhelming power. Anyone weaker than her would be easily killed. In other words, a king whose strength was higher than the giant dragon might not be as fast as the giant dragon when killing weaker kings. However, if they were to fight against the giant dragon would definitely not be its opponent. Yeah. Even if her defense is comparable to a peak-grade armor, so what? As long as we attack together, even a peak-grade armor will be broken. After all, the Troll Emperor was a demon emperor. What he said definitely made sense. After receiving the order, the devil kings gathered in groups of 2s and 3s. There were more than 30 of them. The 2 devil kings in the lead were 6-star devils. Before, their hands were stained with the blood of many kings of Elysium. Now, they planned to stain their hands with the dragon's blood. Kill! Without any words, the 30 devil kings attacked Su Jing together. Violent air currents crisscrossed and shrouded the tens of meters long body of the giant dragon. Unable to dodge all the attacks, sparks flew on Su Jing's body. From time to time, golden blood droplets would splatter out. This was a sign of the dragon's scales being broken. If one hammer couldn't smash a rock, one more hammer might shatter the rock. With 30 devil kings attacking together, even the Troll Emperor and Yi Chen would have to retreat. They could only resort to guerrilla warfare or simply escape. Although the giant dragon was a creature with no weaknesses, it couldn't withstand a group of devil kings. If you want to fight, I'll keep you company. A strong fighting spirit burst out from Su Jing's eyes. Her dragon body actually started to expand, reaching the length of thousands of miles. Then, ignoring the attacks of the other party, she clawed at one of the devil kings. Ah! This devil king's strength was only around 4-star. He was grabbed by the dragon claw. The 2 dragon fingers were like mountains, easily crushing him into pieces. However, there were also countless wounds on Su Jing's body. Some of the wounds were thousands of meters long. Pale golden blood spurted out, like the water of the heavenly river flowing backward. Next. Su Jing's eyes were cold and emotionless. The reason why she enlarged her body was to exchange injuries with the other party. Compared to before, although the defense of the dragon's scales was weaker, the huge dragon body covered up this weakness. She could use light injuries to exchange for the lives of 30 devil kings. Poof! Another devil king was crushed to death. Let's see how long you can last. A 6-star demon king found an opportunity and threw a light ball of magical power that had been compressed countless times into the wound of the giant dragon. Rumble. The magic light ball exploded inside. The destructive power was dozens of times stronger than before. The wound that was originally thousands of meters long expanded to dozens of miles. Even the dragon's bones could be seen. 9th. 10th. Su Jing didn't seem to feel any pain. A golden dragon breath was spewed out, and several devil kings were vaporized into nothingness. At this moment, the Troll Emperor sent a voice transmission to some devil kings, another 30. Hearing this, 30 devil kings rushed over. Not good. Yi Chen's expression changed. The power of the giant dragon had no weaknesses. She could indeed fight against many as long as there weren't demons stronger than her. However, if 50 devil kings joined forces, Su Jing might really be killed. The giant dragon's body was huge. Although it could reduce serious injuries to minor injuries, it also meant that she would become a live target. Senior sister Su Jing, come over here. Yi Chen hurriedly sent a voice transmission to Su Jing. Su Jing didn't doubt him. Her huge body endured countless attacks and slithered toward Yi Chen, spraying countless amounts of golden dragon blood along the way. Chapter 10:10. The Wolf King, come out. Yi Chen abruptly patted the beast tag hanging on his waist. A woo. A wolf howl was heard, and a scarlet-haired demonic wolf with eyes on its forehead scuttled out. The current dream-eating wolf was a demonic king, and its demonic power was incomparably vigorous, even more majestic than Yi Chen's Shen Yuan. After devouring a supreme-grade demonic power crystal, the dream-eating wolf's demonic power cultivation base had long since surpassed 20,000 years. After all, once a demonic beast entered life and death realm, its cultivation base would far surpass that of a human, not to mention a demonic beast like the dream-eating wolf, which had already gone extinct in Elysium. Of course, this was also related to the dream-eating wolf's powerful soul and proficiency in dreamland power. Otherwise, its cultivation base wouldn't have increased so quickly. Grow bigger. Yi Chen ordered the dream-eating wolf. Yes. The dream-eating wolf spoke human language, and its body rapidly grew as if it was filled with air, reaching dozens of li in height and 100 li in length. This was not the true body of the dream-eating wolf, as its real body was not this big. However, after reaching life and death realm, both demonic beasts and humans could grow bigger. For example, Yi Chen could also grow bigger. Although it was impossible for him to reach thousands of li like Su Jing, it was still possible for him to grow to dozens of li. However, such growth required a vigorous cultivation base. With Yi Chen's cultivation base, his Zhen Yuan would be diluted if he grew to dozens of li, and he wouldn't be able to display its original might. The dream-eating wolf's cultivation base had already surpassed 20,000 years. At such a huge size, its strength would drop by at least 30%, but its attack range would increase by countless folds. Without Yi Chen's command, the pawn-sized eyes on the dream-eating wolf's forehead opened, and a boundless dim light spread out toward Su Jing's direction. In a split second, the 50 demon kings chasing Su Jing were all shrouded by the dim light. In the next moment, apart from a few with powerful wills, the rest of the 50 demon kings' eyes turned sluggish as they fell into a dreamland. Senior sister Su Jing, quickly kill them. Yi Chen made a prompt decision. Su Jing's eyes brightened as she turned her body and swooped back. Not good. Giant Devil Emperor finally understood Yi Chen's plan. He didn't expect that Yi Chen had also subdued a Beast Wolf King proficient in Dreamland abilities. This kind of Dreamland ability might not be very powerful in battle, but its auxiliary effects were incomparable. It was a great killing weapon in group battles. As long as one's will was not up to par, they would fall into Dreamland and be unable to extricate themselves. By the time they woke up, it would be too late. Roar! The Troll Emperor roared, and his 5-meter-tall body expanded, turning into a 100-mile-tall super troll. Compared to the Troll Emperor, Su Jing's dragon body was longer, but it wasn't as thick as the Troll Emperor's. It was just like a slightly larger python. Get lost! The pitch-black fist was dozens of miles wide, and it filled the heavens and earth. It sent Yi Chen flying. The Troll Emperor took a step forward, ignoring the distance of hundreds of thousands of miles, and chased after Su Jing. Unfortunately, he was one step too slow, and Su Jing's speed wasn't any slower than his. In an instant, more than 30 demon kings were smashed to pieces. Su Jing's huge dragon body was invincible in group battles. The demon kings that were hit by her were like praying mantises under a wheel, easily crushed to death. Soon, the Troll Emperor caught up with Su Jing, grabbed Su Jing's dragon body, and tore it apart. A soul-stirring scene happened. Su Jing's 1,000-mile-long dragon body was torn in two, and a river of dragon blood gushed out, sprinkling on the Troll Emperor's body. Merciless water and fire. With the protection of the immortal sword intent, Yi Chen was unharmed. Seeing Su Jing's dragon body being torn apart, a burning killing intent flashed in his eyes. Raising the demon slaughtering sword high, Yi Chen gathered his Zhen Yuan and slashed at the Troll Emperor from afar. Among all of Yi Chen's sword techniques, the merciless water and fire had the longest range. Even if you were at the edge of the sky, you would still be cut down by the sword. The green sword curtain was hundreds of thousands of miles long, and with a flash, the Troll Emperor was split in two. The destructive sword light evaporated a lot of the Troll Emperor's demonic power. Whoosh! Taking advantage of this opportunity, Su Jing's dragon body quickly shrunk, becoming hundreds of meters long. Like a small earthworm on a giant palm, it broke free from the Troll Emperor's control and then connected together. This demon's demonic power is many times denser than my dragon power. To kill him, even if all of us join hands, we might not be able to do it. With a flash of golden light, Su Jing appeared next to Yi Chen, a trace of worry on her face. The Troll Emperor's demonic power was too terrifying. She was a golden dragon, and the reason why she could become thousands of miles long was because of the dragon's unique ability, not because she had that much dragon power. Therefore, once she became too big, her strength would drop a lot. However, the Troll Emperor had become hundreds of miles tall, but his strength did not drop much. It could be seen that the opponent's demonic power had reached an uncontrollable level. Among humans, the only one who can compete with him in terms of cultivation base is probably Senior Yuan Emperor. Yi Chen had a deep understanding of this point. After fighting for such a long time, the opponent's demonic power was estimated to be less than 1%. If this continued, he would die without a doubt, unless he was like Senior Yuan Emperor, who was born with a Dharma body in endless Shen Yuan. The Wolf King, how many times can you use your Dreamland ability? The Dream-Eating Wolf's title was the Wolf King. As Yi Chen's trump card, Yi Chen only released it now because he had his own plans. The Wolf King's Dreamland ability was indeed very powerful, but it consumed too much demonic power and soul power. Demonic power was fine, but soul power was something that everyone lacked. The Wolf King spoke human language, it depends on the situation. Under normal circumstances, I can use it about 3 times. If it's like just now, expanding the range to the extreme, I can only use it once. After that, I will only have a trace of soul power left, and I will even lose basic combat power. I will need to sleep for a long time to recover completely. Only once. Yi Chen frowned. If the Dream-Eating Wolf's ability was used well, it could greatly reduce the gap between him and the enemy. If it was not used well, it would only be a waste of opportunity. It seems like I can only give it a try. Turning his head, Yi Chen said to Su Jing and the Wolf King, I will hold off the Troll Emperor. You two don't separate. I will let the others gather with you. Then, Yi Chen spread his soul power to the dozens of Elysium kings nearby. Everyone, gather around the Wolf King. Also, you guys send a soul message. Yi Chen's soul power had a limited range. Some kings had already fought millions of miles away, so soul messages couldn't reach them. He could only send them one by one. Gather over there. What's going on? Although they didn't know what Yi Chen was planning, everyone was exhausted. 1 against 3 wasn't a joke. Although their undying bodies could let them hold on for a while, they would still die after a long time. After all, in the past, they could choose to escape if they couldn't beat their opponents. But now, if they tried to escape, it would be the same as running away. Therefore, when they heard Yi Chen telling them to go over, they all became spirited. While sending a soul message to the others, they quickly ran away. Chase. They were so close to killing their opponents. How could these demon kings let them escape? They chased after them crazily. Space tunnel. It was not easy for the Air Emperor to keep a 6-star devil occupied for so long with the strength of a 5-star tyrant. Seeing that the world of space was about to collapse, he waved his right hand, and a tunnel made of space energy appeared behind him. Entering the tunnel, the Air Emperor appeared near the Wolf King and Su Jing. Brilliance of Realm. Xuanho's space profound martial arts were more profound than the Air Emperor's. A mirror appeared in front of her, and Xuanho's figure was reflected in it. In the next moment, her body disappeared and appeared in the mirror. The mirror shot out a 5-colored light beam, sending Xuanho far away. PFFF. The Void Ancestor had been beaten up by the Lord of Fear to the point where he didn't even look human. At this moment, he was at the end of his rope. Without thinking, his body started to turn ethereal, and he used a void escape art to escape in the direction of the Wolf King. Don't even think about escaping. The Lord of Fear was a bit angry. His strength was much higher than his opponent, and it was already very humiliating for him to not be able to take down his opponent. How could he watch him escape? Eye of Fear. The Lord of Fear's forehead split open, and a black eyeball floated out. With a poof, a black brilliance shot out, and accurately hit the Void Ancestor's ethereal body. Ah! Half of his body collapsed, and the Void Ancestor screamed. Fortunately, he forcefully changed his trajectory, and he wasn't completely annihilated. Don't even think about it. How could the Troll Emperor not know what Yi Chen was planning? His body instantly turned from hundreds of miles tall to hundreds of miles tall, and he punched out. Behind him, another Troll Emperor actually appeared, and it charged toward the Wolf King and Su Jing. I'm afraid it won't go as you wish. A sharp sword appeared out of nowhere, and it blocked the Troll Emperor's clone. Meanwhile, Yi Chen's sword faced the Troll Emperor's main body, and the two sides started fighting again. Gradually, one after another, the kings of Elysium gathered together. The number went from dozens to more than 100, and there were still some people rushing over. I'll make a move first. Murong Qingqing single-handedly entangled the 3 six-star devils, and it played a huge role. However, her strength was only at the mid-stage of the 6-star devils, after all. To be able to entangle the opponents, she had to rely on the mobility provided by the devil wings. With a violent flap of the devil wings, Murong Qingqing turned into a black dot, and she disappeared into the distance. In the end, the number of kings that gathered around the Wolf King reached about 200. This was basically the only kings left. Opposite them, the demons had also gathered together. There were about 600 of them, which was more than 3 times their number. Leading them was the Lord of Fear and 10 six-star devils. As for the Troll Emperor, he was entangled by Yi Chen. This was Yi Chen's plan. He would drag the Troll Emperor far away, and then use the large-scale dream ability of the Wolf King to make the demon kings with low willpower fall into a dream. This way, the strength of both sides would be reduced to a limit. If the Troll Emperor rushed over, this plan wouldn't work. With the strong willpower and terrifying boundless magic of the Troll Emperor, he could resist all of them by himself. As for joining forces to cast soul attacks, it wouldn't work now. Everyone's soul power had been consumed to a critical point since the start of the battle. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to last until now. Chapter 10-11. Everyone, be careful of that Wolf King. He has a dreamscape ability, and those with willpower below the 7th order will fall into his dreamscape. The range of his dreamscape is over 250,000 li. The Troll Emperor's thoughts were meticulous. The Wolf King had only used his dreamscape ability once, and he had already analyzed the pros and cons. 250,000 li. Retreat. Hearing this, the demon kings hurriedly retreated, widening the distance between them to 400,000 li. This distance was already very far, and any further and they would not be able to sense each other. My innate ability can create a thought-shielding field with a radius of 10 meters. It can cancel out dreamscape abilities. Stay close to me. Although dreamscape abilities were strange, there were many strange abilities in the outside world. In the outside world, there were even more strange abilities than dreamscape abilities. However, this did not mean that these abilities had no natural enemies. After some people suffered a loss, they would use these abilities to research secret arts to counter them. In addition, there were also people with innate abilities that could resist dreamscape abilities. It's actually dreamscape ability. Against dreamscape abilities, if one's willpower is not high enough, the soul defense layer is useless. This is because the soul defense layer is also constructed from soul force, and the essence is unchanged. Only willpower secret arts can work. Willpower secret arts were even rarer than soul secret arts. Willpower originated from the soul, but it had no definite relationship with the soul. Using willpower to shield dreamscape abilities could protect the soul from being affected. For a moment, the demon kings were thinking of ways to deal with it. On Elysium's side, the Wolf King said to everyone, "My dreamscape ability has a range of 350,000 li, but the further the distance, the smaller the effect. At 350,000 li, only those with late 6th order willpower and below will be affected. At 300,000 li, those with peak 6th order willpower and below will be affected. At 250,000 li, those with 7th order willpower and below will be affected. This is the optimal distance. Any closer and it will be impossible to surpass." "How long will the dreamscape be?" Jailer asked. "It depends on the level of willpower. At 250,000 li, peak 6th order willpower will fall for about 2 breaths. Late 6th order willpower will fall for 5 breaths. Mid 6th order willpower will fall for 9 breaths. Of course, if the other party is attacked, they will wake up immediately. Although dreamscape abilities could make people fall, don't forget that everyone had immortal bodies. Even if they fell into a dreamscape and were attacked, they would not die immediately. Among everyone, only Su Jing had the ability to kill a demon king in an instant. The others would probably have to attack many times to kill a demon king. Therefore, both Su Jing and the Wolf King were crucial. Demon kings in Dreamscape would wake up immediately after being attacked and would not be given a second chance. Those with peak 6th order willpower are hard to kill. 2 breaths is too short. We won't be able to get there in time. It seems that killing 100 demon kings is already our limit. Xianhou said after pondering for a while. The Demon Flower Emperor frowned. They seem to know the Wolf King's ability. Once the Wolf King gets close to them, he will definitely be attacked. No worries. I have a way to let the Wolf King go over safely and come back at any time. Xianhou said confidently. Oh right, I almost forgot that you're proficient in Space Profound. The Demon Flower Emperor nodded. Xuanhou's research on Space Profound was varied. Although some of it could not be used in battle, at a crucial moment, it could be used to reverse the situation. Taking a deep breath, Xianhou said to everyone, remember, when I say move, we will advance together. When I say attack, we will attack together. If the timing is good, we might be able to eliminate a large number of demon kings in one go. Okay, we'll listen to you. With so many demon kings, we should eliminate as many as we can. I didn't expect the Sword King to have a Wolf King who is proficient in Dreamscape ability. From the start of the battle until now, Yi Chen's role was unquestionable. If he did not entangle the Troll Emperor, this battle would have been lost long ago. Now, there was the addition of the Wolf King. This made everyone secretly sigh at Yi Chen's unfathomable strength. At the same time, they were all overjoyed. The Wolf King, get ready. Xianhou secretly told the Wolf King some details. I'm ready. The Wolf King nodded, his eyes fixed forward. Xianhou did not speak. Her hands formed seals at a dreamy speed. Because the speed was too fast, at a glance, it would seem that her fingers were not moving at all. Behind the dream-eating wolf, a mirror suddenly appeared. The mirror reflected the Wolf King's figure. The next moment, the Wolf King suddenly appeared in the mirror. Immediately, the mirror radiated brilliance, and a 5-colored light beam ejected the Wolf King. The speed of light was 300,000 meters, which was 600,000 kilometers. It was several times faster than the speed of anyone present in the void. It almost exceeded everyone's reaction time. About 200,000 kilometers ahead, the Dream Wolf King's figure appeared. Not good. The Demon Kings were shocked. In their line of sight, endless light gushed over. They had no time to react. Kill him. Although there were not many Demon Kings with willpower at the 7th step, there were still dozens of them. These dozens of Demon Kings were still very clear-headed. They joined forces and attacked the Wolf King. However, just as they were about to attack, they discovered that a mirror had appeared in front of the Dream Wolf King. The mirror reflected the Dream Wolf King, and then, just like before, the Dream Wolf King was sent back in the form of a multicolored beam of light. Their attacks didn't even harm a hair on the Dream Wolf King's body. Move! The moment the mirror appeared, Xianhou instantly transmitted her voice. Swish! 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 Everyone from Elysium broke through the space and rapidly shuttled through the void. After 2 breaths, the space shattered, and everyone appeared at a place only tens of thousands of kilometers away from the Demon Kings. Attack! In the void, everyone had already prepared their ultimate move. The moment they appeared, they attacked. Boom boom boom. Saber light, sword chi, palm shadows, leg shadows, fist energy, more than 200 attacks flew out. At this time, the demon kings whose willpower had reached the peak of the sixth step had just woken up. However, they clearly had no time to prepare their attacks. They only felt that as soon as they woke up, countless attacks bombarded them. Although these attacks were not as fast as light, it only took an instant for them to cross hundreds of thousands of kilometers. As for those dozens of demon kings who had not fallen into the dreamland, how could they block so many attacks? They were not the Troll Emperor. If they were the Troll Emperor, he could completely enlarge his body and fight against everyone from Elysium. With his boundless mana, he could completely do this. At most, he would lose half of his mana, but it was impossible for him to die. Pu, in the blink of an eye, 60 to 70 demon kings exploded, turning into blood mist. Before this blood mist could condense, it was evaporated into nothingness. The combined attack of over 200 kings was no joke. These attacks stacked together, and the quantitative change resulted in a qualitative change. It was like a massive star exploding in the midst of the demon kings, radiating boundless light and heat. Roar! This was not the end. A dragon's roar suddenly came from the sky. A golden dragon that was thousands of kilometers long appeared tens of thousands of kilometers in front of the demon kings. The dragon opened its mouth, and a dazzling light wave that was like a small sun shot out. In the next moment, another 30 demon kings were evaporated by the light wave. The chaotic force caused all the surviving demon kings to be stunned, and they could not tell which direction was which. Retreat. Su Anho was not greedy. If they continued to attack at this time, they might be able to kill more demon kings, but it would put everyone in danger. Once these demon kings woke up, they would definitely have many casualties. After all, there were more than 600 demon kings. Killing around 100 meant that there would be more than 500 of them. With the combined attack of more than 500 demon kings, they would not be able to bear the consequences. Including Su Jing, everyone from Elysium flew back, increasing the distance between them. Killed 100 demon kings. Not bad. Yi Chen nodded slightly when he saw all of this. He did not think that the Wolf King could turn the tables with his dream world ability. This was impossible. The difference in numbers between the two sides was too great. If they wanted to turn the tables, it would be impossible to do it with just one the Wolf King. Unless there were 3 or 4 Wolf Kings. Of course, if there were 3 or 4 Su Jing Yas, they could also turn the tables. Unfortunately, they did not have them. Good, very good. The Lord of Fear's expression was ferocious, and his eyes were bloodshot. About 100 demon kings had been annihilated in front of his eyes. This was undoubtedly a great humiliation. Back then, they had failed because Elysium had people who were absolutely powerful. For example, people like the Yuan Emperor, who had the combat power of a 7-star pinnacle. Now, be it in terms of numbers or powerhouses, they far surpassed their opponents. However, they did not expect that they would still be in such a miserable state. Out of 1,000 demon kings, there were only about 500 left, which was a loss of almost half of their forces. On the other hand, Elysium had only lost about 300 people. Of course, he also knew that there were 3 reasons for this result. The first reason was that Yi Chen's combat power was too terrifying. Although he was not as good as the Troll Emperor, he could hold off the Troll Emperor. The second reason was the Golden Dragon. The Golden Dragon was a headache in terms of defense, size, and lethality. In a group battle, it was even more useful than Yi Chen. The third reason was the Wolf King, who was proficient in the ability of dreams. Although he did not kill a single demon king, more than 100 demon kings had died because of him. At this time, the Lord of Fear secretly cursed the cursed demon emperor. He should not have died so early. If the cursed demon emperor had not died, with the power of his curse, he could have cursed most people. If he had not died, this battle would have ended long ago. How could so many demon kings have died? However, he did not expect that the other party would target the cursed demon emperor. It could only be said that they were too careless. The result of carelessness was that the direction of the situation had become confusing. Very good. I did not expect you to be so tenacious. This is indeed beyond my expectations, said the troll emperor, who was held back by Yi Chen, as he punched away Yi Chen. Yi Chen frowned. He had a feeling that something bad was about to happen. However, your ending has long been decided. No matter how much you struggle, it is useless. Taking a deep breath, the troll emperor transmitted his voice. Use the puppet warships and join forces to kill them. Use the puppet warships? The Lord of Fear also felt that there was no need to worry about the puppet warships being damaged. They had already lost enough demon kings. If they did not use the puppet warships, although they still had a 99% chance of winning, how many demon kings would be left by then? The faces of the people of Elysium suddenly turned pale. In the distance, puppet warships of 700 to 800 meters long flew over like a moving dark cloud. Chapter 10-12. The land of extreme negative energy was located between the misty snow region and the wavy cloud region. There was a stoneman formation in this place. In the past, Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing had entered the underground world from this place. Rumble. The stoneman formation, which was made up of many stone men, suddenly started to move. These stone men kept moving like stars, or like two invisible giants using the stone men as chess pieces. In the blink of an eye, the stoneman formation had changed hundreds of times. After a few blinks of an eye, the stoneman formation had changed beyond recognition. The moment the stone golem formation stopped moving, a vast ripple spread out. Then, a transparent light formation appeared above the stone golem formation. The light formation covered an area of several dozen li, and there were people standing on the surface of the light formation. At a rough glance, there were at least 100,000 of them, and the 100 or so people in the lead did not have powerful auras. However, when they opened and closed their eyes, there seemed to be stars appearing and disappearing, and all sorts of mysterious trajectories could be seen. Elysium is in danger. Everyone, it's time for us to do our part. Standing at the front was a white-haired old man. He wore a simple robe, and his hair was draped over his shoulders. He held a wooden staff in his hand, and at the end of the staff, there was a huge sky-blue gem. Since ancient times, every time Elysium faced a calamity, our underground race has never been absent. This time is no exception. In order to prevent Elysium from being enslaved, don't show any mercy. Now, let's show those humans on the surface how powerful our will is, and how magical our will attacks are. Let's go. The brown-robed old man standing next to the white-haired old man waved his hand and shouted. Whoosh! As soon as the brown-robed old man finished his words, the light formation gradually turned illusory. In the next moment, the huge light formation, carrying more than 100,000 people, disappeared into the void. These puppet battleships should be at the same level as the puppet sex battleships from 5,000 years ago. However, back then, the puppet sect only managed to develop 3 battleships, but there are 400 of them here. The puppet school had long since been submerged in the river of time, but the puppets they had left behind were still impressive. It was said that the sect protecting battleship of the puppet school could fight against several normal kings. If it was given time to accumulate energy, it could kill a peak king in one shot. Of course, this was just pure power. A peak king would not just stand there and let it kill them, but it also reflected the destructive power of the battleship. Forget it. If worst comes to worst, we'll just fight to the death. Since we can't defend Elysium, I, the Void Ancestor, am willing to fight to the death. I believe that the spirits of our ancestors in heaven won't blame us too much. The Void Ancestor's expression calmed down, his eyes filled with the resolution of certain death. The time given to us is too short, and the time given to those geniuses is also too short. They haven't grown strong enough yet. Although the internal conflict can make them stronger and cultivate a real Gu king, time waits for no man. Jailer glanced at Yi Chen and sighed. The latter was undoubtedly a peerless character of this era. If he had enough time, he would not be weaker than Yuan Emperor and the others. If they had known that the foreign race's calamity would come so soon, they wouldn't have minded making Elysium more chaotic. Perhaps it would have helped the geniuses grow faster. One should know that a person as powerful as Yuan Emperor could fight against hundreds of kings. They could use guerrilla warfare to kill batch after batch of enemies until all of them were dead. It's not too late. As long as we can hold on until the underground race arrives, we still have hope. Xianhou looked at the sky. The underground race? Yes, but we don't know if the current underground race is strong enough. Otherwise, it would just be a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. There weren't many people who knew about the underground race. The underground race didn't want too many people to know about their existence. They had always been mysterious. The puppet warships were moving very fast. The dazzling blue flame at their tail gave them a strong driving force. Inside each puppet warship, there were dozens of demons. They were either controlling the direction and driving force of the warship, or controlling the puppet cannons at the front and sides of the warship. They had a clear division of labor. You still have a chance to surrender now. We, the demons, actually don't want to kill wantonly. We are even willing to govern Elysium together with you. However, if you are stubborn, then don't blame us, the demons, for not giving you a chance. One of the 6-star devils said. Pooey. Chu Zhongtian spat on the ground. You want us to surrender? What a joke. If we govern together, I'm afraid we will become your puppets. My master has already sacrificed himself. I, Chu Zhongtian, am not a coward who is afraid of death. If you want to take over Elysium, you have to step over my dead body. Otherwise, don't even think about it. In Elysium, there are only kings who die in battle. There are no kings who surrender. I would like to see how tough your puppet warships are. Can they withstand my hammer? You want us to surrender? Dream on. If you want to fight, let's fight. Why are you talking so much nonsense? The death of more than 300 kings didn't make the remaining people timid. Now, they were in a killing frenzy. The only thing on their minds was how to survive and kill more enemies. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Kill them all. The Lord of Fear was more inclined to kill this group of people. Kill all those who dared to resist in Elysium. Only by killing all those who resisted could they take over Elysium more smoothly. Shio, the demon kings and the puppet warships advanced rapidly. The cannons of the puppet warships were already flickering with different colors. That was a sign that the cannons were about to be fired. Don't give the puppet warships the chance to accumulate energy. Charge! Now, the people of Elysium had been forced to the edge of a cliff. If they took a step back, they would be in the abyss. If they took a step forward, they would be facing countless enemies. They might as well fight to the death. None of them fled. None of them retreated. All of them executed their movement techniques and pounced forward from all angles. Some of them faced the puppet warships above, while some faced the demon kings. All of them were emitting a tragic aura as though they were facing death calmly. Their eyes were filled with madness and terrifying calmness. Kill! The Lord of Fear was the first to charge at the Void Ancestor. The Lord of Fear had never killed a living person. The other party was no exception. Boom boom boom. The battle began once again. The moment it started, it entered a white-hot stage. It was several times more tragic than before. After a few breaths, more than 100 puppet warships had accumulated energy. Beams of different colors shot out, interweaving into a web of death. The Elysium demon kings that were hit by these beams of light died instantly. Although most of them didn't die, they were sent flying or had half their bodies shattered. They were then easily killed by the demon kings that rushed over. The situation was one-sided. Break! Duguju gripped his saber with both hands and swung it down heavily. Whoosh! A pale white saber light sliced through the sky. 3 puppet warships were cleaved into 2. Another 2 puppet warships were sent flying by the aftershocks of the saber light. Their surfaces were flickering. Essence of the realm, reincarnation. Mysterious Queen's eyes were cold. Her hands rapidly formed seals, and many mirrors were born in the void. These mirrors absorbed any energy that was reflected on them, and then shot out beams of colorful light towards the puppet battleships in the sky. For a moment, there were puppet battleships exploding from time to time, like huge fireworks blooming. Moreover, as long as these mirrors existed, they would continue to absorb energy and attack. Every attack was equivalent to the full force of a titled monarch. The results were glorious. In a short period of time, 20 puppet warships were destroyed. However, on the side of Elysium, dozens of demon kings had died. Following that, the demon kings that attacked the puppet warships were surrounded by 3 demon kings. They didn't have the time to attack the puppet warships. In the sky above the ocean-gazing domain, boundless waves appeared out of nowhere. A huge light formation appeared. Kill! One figure after another flew down from the light formation and joined the battlefield. Because they had come so suddenly, the demon army was slaughtered. The attacks of these people were different from normal humans. Their attacks were abnormally fleeting. They didn't seem to make any movements, but their attacks landed on the demon soldiers. Some of the stronger ones even created terrifying storms. These storms wreaked havoc, and wherever they went, the demon soldiers were torn to pieces. They're here. Serenity's eyes lit up. Her face was full of joy. It's the underground race. Li Xiaoyun was also very excited. Just like Yi Chen, he had entered the underground world before. Serenity was the saintess of a sacred race in the underground world. The people of the underground world didn't cultivate true yuan. Instead, they mainly cultivated will. Will was formless and intangible, but it had a huge destructive power. Moreover, it showed no signs of attacking. The reinforcements are here. Everyone, continue to kill. Although they didn't know the origin of these people, they only killed the demons and not them. It was obvious that they were the mysterious reinforcements of Elysium. For a moment, everyone's morale was high. Tens of thousands of underground humans had thrown themselves into the battlefield, causing a huge impact. These underground humans could use their thoughts to create a very large defensive barrier, and everyone was very safe inside. Normally, as long as dozens of underground humans joined hands, they would be able to make the defensive barrier last for a very long time, and the people inside the defensive barrier were not restricted by the defensive barrier, so they could fiercely attack the demon clan outside. As such, the devil race army was naturally killed in an incomparably sullen manner. On the light formation, there were more than 100 people left. The white-haired old man waved his hand, and the light formation broke through the space and swept towards the battlefield of the demon kings. Lan Sanmei had tried her best to kill, but there were too many enemies. She had just slashed a demon king's body when she was attacked several times. If she hadn't reacted in time and avoided being hit in the vital parts, she would have died. But now, she had nowhere to hide. A total of 5 demon kings were attacking her together. Buzz! At this moment, an invisible barrier suddenly appeared in front of Lan Sanmei. The horrifying attack landed on it, stirring up a large amount of ripples. The next moment, the invisible barrier shattered, but it also gave Lan Sanmei enough time to dodge. Raising her head, Lan Sanmei saw many unfamiliar people. These people didn't have any true yuan aura on them, but they were all extremely fast, as if they were moving with their will. Chapter 10-13. Haha, the underground race is finally here. Although the prison ancestor's limbs had been sent flying by the 3 six-star demon kings and his body was badly mutilated, he still laughed heartily when he saw the hundreds of strangers who had suddenly joined the battlefield. He knew that with these hundreds of underground kings, they wouldn't be able to turn defeat into victory, but at least they had the confidence to fight. Underground race, it's all up to you now. After the Void Ancestor said this, he was immediately torn into two by the Lord of Fear. The Lord of Fear's hands emitted black demonic fire, instantly turning the Void Ancestor into ashes. Not a single drop of blood was left. Humph. The brown-robed old man next to the white-haired old man snorted and sighed softly. This demon is so powerful. My mental barrier only lasted for less than 1/100th of a blink of an eye, and it was forcefully torn apart by him. Just now, he had wanted to save the Void Ancestor, but the Lord of Fear's strength was beyond his imagination. His combat power is close to that of a 7-star. Naturally, he isn't someone you can resist. Leave him to me. The white-haired old man raised his cane high, and more than 10 different colored light beams were bounced back, piercing through the puppet battleship that had fired the cannons. All right, I can't resist this demon, but he doesn't seem to be the most powerful one. The brown-robed old man couldn't help but look at Yi Chen and the Troll Emperor, who were hundreds of thousands of miles away. With his mental power, his senses could extend very far. That place was like a chaotic and disorderly black hole. Just his mental power alone made him feel like he was being affected. It was hard to imagine how powerful the two sides were. The brown-robed old man could discover Yi Chen and the Troll Emperor, so the white-haired old man was no exception. As he bounced back countless attacks, he said, "That's a battle between 7-star. A 7-star and a 6-star overlord might seem like a small level difference, but if you want to cross over, your strength will increase by at least 2 or 3 times. That troll's demonic power is endless. Kings who are much stronger than him might not be able to do anything to him. That young man's sword intent has already reached the 8th level, and he has formed a protective sword intent. If his sword intent doesn't scatter, at least 50% of the attacks that land on him will be blocked. The 8th level sword intent is really incredible." The brown-robed old man, who had already killed several demon kings, said in surprise. Their underground race mainly cultivated mental power, which was another way of using the will. It was a kind of invisible mental power. To be more precise, it used the will as the core and acted on the outside world, producing a huge amount of power. Therefore, the will of the underground race would increase along with the realm. However, there was only one person whose will had reached the 8th level, and that was the great patriarch of the underground race, the white-haired old man in front of him. The brown-robed old man himself only had peak 7th step willpower. Of course, although the willpower of Will and Jin Yuan were the same, the degree of excavation was completely different. It was not an exaggeration to say that those who cultivated will had already excavated their willpower to the limit, while those who cultivated Jin Yuan could only excavate 20 to 30% of their willpower. With different daos, the emphasis was also different. In the underground world, there was no way to cultivate Jin Yuan, so they could only focus on cultivating mental power. If they were to divert their attention to cultivating Jin Yuan, they would not be able to do either. Moreover, the higher the realm, the more they could not afford to be distracted. They could only focus on one, because in the later stages, if they cultivated both at the same time, there would be a divergence, and they could fall into bedevilment at any time. However, reaching the 8th level at such a young age was definitely shocking. If any young man in the underground world could reach the 8th level he would definitely be the next great patriarch, and he would also be promoted from a saint to a great saint. Apart from the fact that he wouldn't have the authority of a great patriarch, his status would be the same as the great patriarchs, and the other saints would have to respect him. Old man, if you had not come out, you would still have been able to protect yourselves. Within 3 to 5 years, even us demons would not be able to do anything to you. Now, let's die together with them. After killing the Void Ancestor, the Lord of Fear did not stop, continuing to attack the white-haired old man. Regarding the existence of the underground race, he naturally knew about them. In the previous battle with Elysium, these underground race had appeared. Pong, a palm shot out, and the terrifying bloody light turned into countless bloody shadows that rushed toward the white-haired old man. The underground race is also a part of Elysium. When Elysium is in trouble, how could we not come? On the other hand, you demons have never won, and this time will not be an exception. The white-haired old man held the staff in his right hand, and stretched it out. The next moment, the sky-blue gem at the end of the staff flashed, and a slightly blue-curved mental barrier blocked in front of him. Layers of bloody shadows crashed onto it, and there was a soft popping sound. If there were more than 200 of you, I might be a little afraid, but now? You're just a joke. The Lord of Fear's figure followed closely behind the bloody shadows. With a rip of his large hand, the blue-curved mental barrier was forcibly torn apart, revealing a gap. The Lord of Fear, who had half of his body squeezed over, opened his mouth, and spat out a jet of black demonic fire. Disintegrate. The white-haired old man was calm and unruffled. The space in front of his brow rippled, and the black demonic fire suddenly paused before disintegrating at an extremely fast speed. Oh, you have some skills. Although this was what he said, the Lord of Fear's expression became much more solemn. When one's mental power was cultivated to a certain level, in terms of strength, it could pull down stars, and in terms of subtlety, it could disintegrate all things. Obviously, the white-haired old man opposite him had already reached this level. Blood Soul Divine Fist. However, the stronger the enemy, the stronger his killing intent would be. The mental barrier collapsed, and a blood-red fist blasted toward the white-haired old man's head. The bloody light on this fist had turned into liquid, and from liquid to solid again. The surface of the fist was constantly jumping with blood-colored lightning. Before it got close to the white-haired old man, it made his chi and blood boil, and his body seemed to be about to explode, transforming into chi and blood into this fist. This was a martial art of the demons that restrained people with weak bodies, and it was the most suitable to deal with the underground clan. Dimensional Shield. The white-haired old man's means were more than what the Lord of Fear had imagined. His body didn't move, but the white-haired old man's figure suddenly moved away. There seemed to be a layer of world between the two of them, and the slightest deviation could lead to a great error. The trajectory of the Lord of Fear's Blood Soul Divine Fist deviated to an unknown place, and the last punch blasted a demon king tens of thousands of miles away into nothingness. Damn it, this old guy isn't that easy to deal with. The Lord of Fear put away his contempt. Although the old man opposite him had a weak body, it wasn't easy to attack him. On the contrary, it was very difficult. The white-haired old man also raised his spirit. As a will king, it wasn't that he didn't have an undying body. On the contrary, no one in Elysium could compare with him in terms of undying body. Every flesh particle in his body contained a rank 6 will. Under normal circumstances, if a flesh particle contained a rank 4 will, it would be the realm of blood rebirth. However, the weak chi and blood was an unavoidable weakness of the underground race. They didn't cultivate Jin Yuan, so Jin Yuan and chi couldn't be exchanged. Under normal circumstances, even if their bodies were smashed dozens of times, they would still be able to reform their bodies. Because of the rank 5 will, these flesh particles were extremely difficult to destroy, and it was even more impossible to destroy them all. It was like how you could smash an egg with one punch, but if you were asked to smash a rock, the difficulty would increase by dozens of times. However, everything had its advantages and disadvantages. The flesh particles were extremely difficult to destroy, but if the chi and blood of the flesh particles were extracted, the will would lose its sustenance and dissipate into nothingness. The Lord of Fear's Blood Soul Divine Fist could undoubtedly extract a large amount of his chi and blood. If he was hit once, his vitality would definitely be greatly damaged. The appearance of the underground race turned the situation around. On Elysium's side, they were no longer in a passive situation. These Will Kings could reflect the light beams of the puppet battleships, and they could even control the direction of the puppet battleships, causing them to attack each other, causing internal friction. Of course, as the Lord of Fear had said, the Will Kings of the underground race were still too few. Although they could catch the demons unprepared at the beginning, as time went on, the balance was still slowly tilting towards the demon side. The only fortunate thing was that with the addition of the underground race, the number of people dying began to decrease. It's not a solution to drag on like this. Yi Chen, who was fighting with the Troll Emperor, frowned unknowingly. The appearance of the underground race did make him happy for a while, especially that white-haired old man, whose strength was comparable to the Lord of Fear, and that brown-robed old man also had peak 6-star battle prowess. They could be said to be two great reinforcements. However, there were still more than 500 demons, plus more than 300 puppet battleships. The gap was still huge, and if this dragged on, Elysium would be exhausted to death. Besides that, Yi Chen didn't know if it was just an illusion, but he had a vague premonition that a huge crisis was quietly approaching, and his mind was very depressed. It's almost time for you to die. The Troll Emperor was like a tireless machine, attacking Yi Chen again and again. Although the violent fist force was mostly offset by the sword will armor, Yi Chen still didn't feel very good. After all, he didn't have an indestructible body. After fighting with the opponent for countless moves, there would always be a little reaction, and now, the reaction was getting more and more intense. Yi Chen was about to retort, but suddenly, his eyebrows twitched, and he knew something was wrong. The Yuan Emperor's voice sounded in his mind. Someone was unsealing the seal of the demon space. It should be known that the demon space was the demon ancestral tree. Once the demon ancestral tree was released, it would be an irreversible disaster. These demons had their cultivation suppressed by Elysium, so their strength was reduced by many times. If they came into contact with the demon ancestral tree, they would return to their peak. At that time, not to mention a group of demon kings, just a single troll emperor could kill all of them, and no one would be able to stop him. "Senior, what should we do?" Yi Chen asked anxiously. The Yuan Emperor said, "It's too late. They seem to have made a plan, and only started to unseal it now. By the time we get there, the seal will have already been unsealed. Now, we can only hope that the immortal tree has awakened, otherwise." The Yuan Emperor didn't continue, but Yi Chen knew what the consequences were. For a moment, his heart was as heavy as water. Chapter 10:14. Kill. Due to the arrival of the underground race, the battle between the kings had fallen into a stalemate. Only 1 or 2 people would die after a while. However, in the sea-gazing region, the situation did not return to a stalemate because of the appearance of the underground race. Instead, it became more and more tragic. On the ground, there were corpses, broken flesh, and blood. A large number of broken weapons were stuck on the ground, and the blood had yet to dry. As the wind blew past, the pungent smell of blood almost made people suspect that they had entered a world of blood. Junior brothers and sisters, set up the Little Big Dipper 7-star sword formation. Yan Jianhui said to Dongfang Bai, Leng Xinghan, and the others as he watched more and more demons rush over. "All right." Dongfang Bai nodded. Up until now, they had consumed more than half of their Jinyuan. Although everyone had improved, and their killing methods were getting better, facing the endless demon army, if they were alone, they would only be killed. As for the Little Big Dipper 7-star sword formation, it was a simplified version of the Big Dipper 7-star sword formation. It only needed 7 people to set it up, and if they used it well, it could increase their strength by 7 times. The 7 people setting up the sword formation were Yan Jianhui, Dongfang Bai, Huang Sume, Leng Xinghan, Yi Xian, Yi Xiaoxiao, and a genius disciple of the Yi clan, Yi Yang. Although the Little Big Dipper 7-star sword formation was a simplified version of the Big Dipper 7-star sword formation, the difficulty of setting it up increased instead. Without a natural talent, it would be impossible to comprehend the essence of the Little Big Dipper 7-star sword formation. 2 years ago, Yi Chen had them practice the Little Big Dipper 7-star sword formation, and would occasionally spar with them to point out their mistakes and misunderstandings. 3 months ago, they had finally practiced the Little Big Dipper 7-star sword formation to completion. One person was equivalent to 7 people, and 7 people were equivalent to 1 person. Every move of theirs had 7 times the power, and their Jin Yuan was connected as one. The 7 people stood in the shape of the Big Dipper 7-star sword formation, and then moved quickly. Although their positions would change every time they moved, the overall shape remained the same. Sometimes, it looked like the 7 stars of the Big Dipper, and sometimes it was slanted, straight, and sometimes even vertical. Gradually, their dantian lit up like twinkling stars, and with their Jin Yuan as the center, they're connected. Kill! Yan Jianhui waved his sword, and 1,000 zhang long sword light sprinkled out, turning a row of demon army soldiers into a blood mist. Kill! Dongfang Bai, Huang Sumei, Ling Xinghan, Yi Xian, Yi Xiaoxiao, and Yi Yang also waved their swords. They could feel that as they waved their swords, their dantian would swell a bit, and then the abundant Jin Yuan would pour into their swords. This was the power of the sword formation, and also the power of all of them. Of course, everything had its advantages and disadvantages. Although the Little Big Dipper 7-star sword formation was powerful, its consumption of Jin Yuan would also increase by 7 times. Fortunately, they were only at the astral reaching realm, and could take pellets to replenish Jin Yuan. This time, Yi Chen had given each of them a lot of pellets of all kinds, so they wouldn't have to worry about running out of Jin Yuan. Dao is emotionless, but also emotional. In the demon army that was extremely far away, countless sword lights appeared. These sword lights were extremely sharp and indestructible. However, their shapes were extremely soft, like ribbons, or willow catkins dancing in the sky. The demons that were entangled by these sword lights did not even have the time to scream before they were cut into hundreds of pieces. Li Daoxian, your emotionless sword art has improved again. I wonder how it compares with my fire spirit godly blade. The crimson blade light crisscrossed, sweeping everything in its way. Yan Qihua laughed out loud as he said to Li Daoxian. Only by staying alive will there be a meaning to the competition. Li Daoxian sighed lightly. He had killed a lot of demons, but up until now, he had also seen countless martial geniuses fall with his own eyes. Many of them were martial geniuses on the hidden dragon rank. Dying with honor. They did not come here for nothing. Perhaps, in a while, we will all die with honor. Let's keep killing. Bing Ling seems to have killed more demons than us. Yan Qihua saw Bing Ling, who was dozens of miles away. Bing Ling's Ice Jin Yuan was the most suitable for group battles. As soon as those demons got close to her, their blood vessels were immediately frozen, and their movements became sluggish. In the next moment, their bodies were covered with a thin layer of frost, and they could only use 50 to 60% of their power at most. However, those demons that were hit by her were not only torn into pieces, but there was also no blood splashing out. All the blood had been frozen. Boom! 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 Ice fragments flew everywhere. Bing Ling was like an ice storm. Wherever she went, the temperature began to plummet. Although her battle power might not be higher than Li Daoxian and Yan Qihua, the number of demons she killed was higher than the two. The area they were in was just a few small dots on the sea gazing. Compared to the whole battlefield, it was almost negligible. If the huge sea gazing was shrunk, one could see that the black color represented by the demon army was like ink, spreading out. Anything in front of the ink would be eroded bit by bit until nothing was left. In other words, the demon army had already occupied the absolute advantage. Whether it was the number or the average battle power, they were higher than Elysium. Although the participation of the underground race had caused a lot of casualties in the demon army, the smarter demons began to understand how to break up into smaller groups. Like a cavalry, they charged at the opponent in groups. "We can't hold on much longer." Brother Sunday, Wang Snake and Wang Mei stood side by side, blocking the locust-like demon army. Beside them were the members of the South Shallow Sea Alliance, which had less than 3,000 of them left. It should be known that before the war started, they had more than 10,000 members. But now, more than 70% of them had died. "Even if we can't hold on, we have to." Sun Shaojin had turned into a red-gold evil ape, which was 10,000 meters tall. The iron rod in his hand was also 10,000 meters long. With a casual wave, a large number of demons would explode. However, his huge body made him a living target. Without a choice, his body instantly shrunk. Hearing that, he turned his head and yelled. At this moment, they could not retreat. Once they retreated, they would definitely be defeated. This was not the same as fighting alone. At the same time, the Fallen Dust Sword sect was also facing a serious challenge. More than 20,000 demon army had their eyes on them and were attacking from all directions. Even though they could arrange sword formations, facing enemies that were several times their size, it was still extremely difficult. In a short period of time, 2 sword snake formations and 1 sword dragon formation had already been broken. The people who had arranged the sword formations had all died in battle. Even the sword formations had been broken, not to mention those Fallen Dust Sword sect members who could not arrange sword formations and could only cooperate with each other. "Juer, live well. You are my pride. I can die without regrets." From afar, Dugu Ju had seen his father, the leader of the Dugu family, being killed by 2 demon kings. Before his death, his father had glanced at him with eyes full of pride and a faint longing. Dugu Ju knew what that faint longing was. It was his father's longing for his mother. His mother had died a long time ago. At that time, he was still a child. And now, his father had also died. Although, as he had said, he could die without regrets. But, why did his heart hurt so much? Ah! Like a wounded wolf, Dugu Ju raised his head and roared. It was a roar that went straight into one's soul, as well as a kind of anger and madness that came from the soul. His white hair grew crazily, and the aura on Dugu Ju's body had completely surpassed that of a human. Anyone who came in contact with this aura would be filled with despair. "Die! All of you, die! All of you, die for me!" The saber was no longer a saber, but a raging flame of vengeance. The saber in Dugu Ju's hand was wrapped in pale white flames. As he waved it, the pale white flames swept everywhere. The despairing saber intent contained in it was many times stronger than before. Even if one was touched by it, one would feel despair and die. Pft, pft, pft. The 3 demon kings around Dugu Ju did not even have the time to scream before they were swallowed by the pale white flames. Before they died, a pale white spiritual body seemed to merge into their saber intent. Completely ignoring his own existence, Dugu Ju dashed towards the 2 demon kings who had killed his father at a terrifying speed. 2 sabers. Just 2 sabers. The 2 demon kings died just like that. They could not understand why Dugu Ju's strength had increased by several times. That terrifying saber intent made them feel despair, causing their strength to be greatly reduced. Of course, they did not know that Dugu Ju's saber intent was the extremely rare despairing saber intent. When his emotions were greatly stimulated, his strength would skyrocket. His saber art would also unknowingly reach a terrifying realm of self-improvement. At this moment, Dugu Ju's strength had impressively reached the 6-star level. "Yi Chen, the seal of the demonic space has been unsealed." After about 5 minutes, Yuan Emperor's voice rang in Yi Chen's mind. Yi Chen was already mentally prepared for this. However, no matter how mentally prepared he was, such a grievous news still made him feel an unprecedented sorrow. The outcome has been decided. As the commander of the demons, the Troll Emperor also knew about the unsealing of the demonic space. He immediately laughed out loud, looking at Yi Chen as if he was looking at a dead man. As long as his strength returned to its peak, not to mention one Yi Chen, even 10 Yi Chens would be annihilated by him with one punch. Even if Yuan Emperor were to come back to life, he would be able to easily kill him. As a demon emperor at the 7th layer of life and death realm, according to this world's battle strength, he would have a 9-star battle strength. At that time, who would be able to stop him? It should be known that not only had his cultivation base been suppressed by 2 layers, he could not use the demon's martial arts to its peak. Moreover, his body had been sealed, and a large amount of his essence, qi, and soul had been worn away, and he had yet to recover. Even Lu Xiaoyu could unleash a sword strike that burned his life force. I, Yi Chen, am not afraid of anything. 3rd layer of life and death realm, break through for me. His sorrowful mood was cut down by the sword intent. Blue veins popped out on Yi Chen's forehead like small snakes, and his aura increased exponentially. Immediately after, an unknown flame burst out of his body, causing cracks to appear on his body, as if he was a delicate porcelain that was about to shatter. Chapter 10-15. What? He wants to break through to the 3rd sky of life and death realm. The Troll Emperor was stunned. Elysium was not a perfect world. In fact, the world the demons lived in was not a perfect world either. However, compared to Elysium, the world the demons lived in was undoubtedly more advanced and closer to perfection. Therefore, the demons could cultivate to the 5th sky of life and death realm in their own world. Of course, ordinary demons could only cultivate to the 3rd sky of life and death realm. If they continued to advance, they would be devoured by the rules and turn into ashes. As far as he knew, the cultivation limit of Elysium was the 2nd sky of life and death realm. As long as one didn't go through a dead end, no one could surpass this realm. Even someone as amazing as the Yuan Emperor was only at the peak of the 2nd sky of life and death realm. He would never be able to advance an inch in his life, and he wouldn't dare to do so unless someone forced him to risk his life. What a pity! Such a genius doesn't die by my hands. But soon, the Troll Emperor shook his head. He didn't think Yi Chen could reach the 3rd sky of life and death realm. Rules were rules, and they wouldn't change because of anyone or anything. Although Elysium was their home, Elysium itself couldn't change the rules. Of course, the premise was that Elysium had its own consciousness. Once the rules were changed, it would be disorderly, and the result of disorder would be destruction. Crack. A faint crackling sound came from Yi Chen's body. It was the sound of a burning flame. This kind of flame came from nothingness and started exploding from the depths of his cells. The destructive power it produced was even more frightening than having one's body torn apart. This was because it was erasing the will of the cells. Once the will collapsed, Yi Chen's body would turn into ashes, leaving nothing behind. Clenching both of his fists, Yi Chen's expression was unprecedentedly firm. It seemed as if nothing could shake his confidence. He firmly believed that he could reach the 3rd sky of life and death realm. At this moment, he had already ignored all negative emotions. Even if the heavens told him that he couldn't succeed, he would turn a deaf ear to them. If he didn't go crazy, he wouldn't survive. If they didn't stake everything in one throw, there would be no hope of victory. More and more cracks appeared on his body. At this moment, Yi Chen was like a human-shaped porcelain that could shatter at any moment. Strands of flames spurted out from those cracks, and upon closer inspection, one could see that these flames were actually formed from tiny runes. These runes were even smaller than viruses, and they were arranged closely together. Each strand of flame was formed from millions upon millions of runes. It was enough to make one's scalp go numb. Bang! All of a sudden, one of Yi Chen's arms exploded, turning into ashes and disappearing. I have to say, you are the craziest genius I have ever seen. You are not in a desperate situation, yet you dare to gamble with your life. But in my opinion, craziness also means stupidity. This kind of person usually doesn't live long. The Troll Emperor stood in the distance and watched calmly. He had no intention of attacking. There was no expression of pain on Yi Chen's face. He calmly said, "This isn't a gamble, because I will succeed. Rules are used to restrict people, but they can also be broken by others, let alone these incomplete rules. I don't want to argue with you. Let the truth tell us who is right and who is wrong." The Troll Emperor sneered. Pa! Yi Chen's other arm was also destroyed. This was a complete destruction from the inside out. Bang, 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 bang. Like a chain reaction, both of Yi Chen's legs and torso were destroyed. In the end, only Yi Chen's head was left, and this head was covered in cracks. Every inch of his body had tens of thousands of cracks. Even a single strand of hair had many cracks. The truth has proven that I am right. The Troll Emperor laughed loudly. You are wrong. As he said these words, Yi Chen's head exploded. But strangely, a silver sphere didn't explode. It was round and without any dust. Everything in the world was reflected inside. Then, Yi Chen's entire life appeared inside. From the original world to the current world, every bit of Yi Chen's life was repeated in this silver sphere. It was as if he had experienced 2 lifetimes again. Buzz! The heaven and earth suddenly trembled. It was the resonance of the great Tao. In the next moment, 9 colored heavenly flowers fell from the sky. They were even more powerful than the 7 colored heavenly flowers. What? Who entered life and death realm? No, this is 9 colored heavenly flowers. This has never happened in Elysium before. After entering the life and death realm, heavenly flowers would fall from the sky. The lowest would be white flowers, followed by 3, 5, 7, and so on. In other words, the number of 7 colored flowers had already reached the bottom, and it was impossible for 9 colored flowers to appear. At this moment, even in the midst of a life and death battle, the attention of everyone in true spirit world was still attracted by the 9 colored flowers. 9 colored heavenly flowers? This is the completion of the rules. Xianhou cried out in astonishment. From the palace spirit, Xianhou already knew that Elysium's rules were not complete. Therefore, only the most outstanding geniuses could cultivate to the first layer of life and death realm, with the highest not exceeding the second layer. Even if others knew the true cultivation method of life and death realm, they would not be able to condense a Tao gate. Forcibly condensing a Tao gate would only lead to their own destruction. As a peak first layer life and death realm, Xianhou naturally felt that the suppression of the rules on her Tao gate had decreased a lot. It should be known that when she condensed her Tao gate had almost collapsed. This was the backlash of the rules. The rules have actually improved a bit. In the conferred king palace, the palace spirit raised its head, its face full of astonishment and delight. Due to the special nature of the conferred king palace, the palace spirit couldn't leave the palace, and naturally couldn't participate in the battle. It could only watch as Elysium gradually fell. However, at this moment, it seemed to see a turning point. Look, the 9 colored heavenly flowers are coming from Yi Chen's direction. His direction has the most 9 colored heavenly flowers. Soon, someone noticed that the 9 colored flowers were the densest in Yi Chen's location. It was almost like a snowstorm formed by the flowers. Bathing in the 9 colored heavenly flowers, the silver light sphere unexpectedly started to breathe rhythmically. Although the faint breathing sound was not loud, it resonated with the entire sky. Impossible. He can't possibly break through to the 3rd layer. The Troll Emperor was both shocked and furious as he punched toward the silver light sphere bathing in the 9 colored heavenly flowers. Why are you in such a hurry? A strand of formless sword light blocked the Troll Emperor's attack. The Troll Emperor retreated dozens of steps. Cracks appeared on his hand, and blood splashed everywhere. His pupils dilated, not knowing how Yi Chen attacked him. Swoosh! Swoosh! The sound of blood flowing was like a waterfall. At the same time, a human shadow appeared outside the silver light sphere. Then, with the human shadow as the frame, bones, flesh, internal organs, skin, and hair started to appear. In the blink of an eye, Yi Chen's body was formed. In the next second, the shocking sky cracked open on its own, and the endless yuan qi from the heaven and earth condensed into a yuan qi river, pouring into Yi Chen's head. The yuan qi river was endless, and it was hard to tell how much it had poured in within a second. Yi Chen's seemingly tiny body was like a black hole that could never be filled up. Meanwhile, Yi Chen's aura continued to rise. Third sky of life and death realm. Peak third sky of life and death realm. In one breath, Yi Chen reached the peak of the third layer of life and death realm. Not only was his Jin Yuan several times thicker, but its purity had also reached a whole new level. Yi Chen even had a feeling that in terms of Jin Yuan density, even diamonds might not be able to compare. However, the mysterious thing was that his Jin Yuan was still in a liquid state, not a solid state. Indeed, the incomplete rules of the heaven and earth did not result in a complete backlash. Although most of my flesh and blood had been destroyed, there was still a trace of it that seemed to have no life force at all. However, it was also very dangerous this time. This trace of flesh and blood had already scattered in the heaven and earth, unable to be captured. It had almost been assimilated by the natural yuan qi. If it were not for the fact that I still had my consciousness and will, I would not have been able to recover. The secret of blood rebirth was that each and every cell had a will. As long as the will was not destroyed, the cell would not be destroyed. However, at that time, the fragmented will would dissipate without the control of the core will. At that time, it would depend on the strength of the core will. If the core was strong, it meant that the obsession was too deep. Even the rules couldn't completely erase it, as it had already left its mark in the heaven and earth. Yi Chen's will was undoubtedly very powerful. The seventh step immortal sword intent itself had the power of immortality. Therefore, even if his body was destroyed, his sea of soul was not destroyed. The degree of threat was not even as high as when his body was destroyed by the Troll Emperor. At that time, even his sea of soul had been destroyed, and he hadn't reached blood rebirth yet. Of course, just the sea of soul was not enough. If all his cells were destroyed, Yi Chen would have no choice but to take over. Right now, my cultivation base is close to 20,000 years. Moreover, each and every one of my cells contains the fifth step immortal sword intent, which is equivalent to a sixth step sword intent. In terms of body strength, even a sixth step spirit body would not be able to reach my level. Sixth step spirit body represented the strength of the cells themselves. In Yi Chen's case, his cells were still at the fifth step spirit body level, but they contained the fifth step immortal sword intent. It was like wearing a layer of armor, and its defense surpassed the cells of a sixth step spirit body. In the future, if he met someone much stronger than Yi Chen, the opponent might only be able to tear him into pieces, but not turn him into a bloody mist. If he met an opponent at the same level, even if Yi Chen didn't retaliate, the opponent would only be able to leave some marks on his body. This was already somewhat similar to the sword body. Of course, the sword body was not only powerful in terms of defense, but it could also transform the Jin Yuan within the body into sword Yuan. There were some differences between the two. So what if you've broken through to the third sky of life and death realm? My demonic power is boundless for you. How are you going to kill me? The Troll Emperor calmed down. Is that so? Swish. With a wave of his hand, the demon slaughtering sword appeared in Yi Chen's hand as he slashed at the Troll Emperor. Chapter 10:16. Boom. Yi Chen's sword attack was the third movement of the vibrational sword spell, the Sky Absolute Sword. As soon as the sword was shot out, the sky and earth resonated. It was so fast that it was close to teleportation. The Troll Emperor only saw the sword light flashing in front of his eyes. The next moment, his body was cut in half. His body kept shaking, and then with a bang, he turned into blood mist. The sword light from the sky absolute sword contained a vibrating power that was not much stronger than before. However, no one knew whether it was a coincidence or not, but the vibrating power on the sword light matched the vibrating power of the sky and earth, which caused his body to be unable to bear it. After being split in half, his body exploded into blood mist. Autumn water. After throwing out a sword attack, Yi Chen's second sword attack followed right after. This sword attack was the fourth movement of the autumn water sword spell. The surreal space was sparkling, and the moonlight was shattered. The water-like sword light landed right in the middle of the blood mist. Then, it exploded out in all directions like a water thunder. The tiny spiral-shaped sword chi killed the blood mist in the surroundings, destroying the willpower within it. Merciless water and fire. Before the power of the second sword attack could fully spread out, Yi Chen's third sword attack came. This time, it was the destructive merciless water and fire. Both swords were thrown out horizontally and vertically, and a green cross-shaped sword screen shot out. The sky and the earth seemed to be divided into 4 parts. The blood mist was also divided into 4 parts. With the cross-shaped sword screen as the origin, the horrifying fusion power of water and fire swept out. The fusion power of water and fire contained the coldness of water, and the violent heat of fire. The fusion process was also the process of collision. Together with the destructive sword intent, it explained the meaning of destruction and doomsday. That area became an energy black hole, swallowing everything it could. Moment of glory. In the end, Yi Chen's strongest sword attack came. His body leaned forward, and Yi Chen was like a peerless sword. He and the sword became one, flying towards the energy black hole. When he got close to the energy black hole, the powerful space-stopping power immediately froze everything. Even the uncontrollable energy black hole stopped moving. Shoo! Like a feather, Yi Chen's sword pierced through the energy black hole, and then he retreated. As he flew back, the space-stop effect weakened, so it looked like Yi Chen was getting faster and faster, as if the whole world was expanding. It might have been a moment, or it might have been a long time. The energy black hole burst out a strong light that surpassed that of the sun. The solid light instantly filled the area within a radius of tens of thousands of miles, then hundreds of thousands of miles, then millions of miles. The sea near the heavenly gaze sea was still gloomy and bleak a moment ago, but after 1,000th of a second, everything within a radius of millions of miles was filled with the strong light. Everyone's shadows were stretched infinitely until their shadows and bodies were swallowed by the strong light. Only Yi Chen himself was still clearly visible in the strong light. When the strong light touched his body, it immediately bounced back. Rumble. After a long time, an earth-shattering explosion finally rang out. No one could describe how terrifying this explosion was. It was like the sound of heaven and earth being destroyed, or like the first clap of thunder when the world was formed. It could shake all living things to death, but it could also wake all living things up from their slumber. What's going on? Being swallowed by the strong light, everyone stopped fighting. They wanted to use their soul force to sense, but the closer they got to the center of the explosion, the more their soul force became fragmented. The strong light lasted for a long time, more than the time it took to drink half a cup of tea. Under everyone's patience, the strong light finally dissipated strand by strand. The gloominess and bleakness in the world seemed to be swallowed by this strong light, and everything became clear again. What a shocking aura! Before, when Yi Chen summoned the 9-colored sky flower, everyone naturally knew that it was caused by the battle between Yi Chen and the Troll Emperor. But now, they only saw Yi Chen, not the Troll Emperor. Moreover, the aura on Yi Chen's body was frighteningly powerful. It wasn't that this aura was boundless, but that it was too sharp. It was as if it was formed by millions of tiny swords, shooting out in all directions. Soul Force tried to sense Yi Chen, but it was instantly sliced into pieces. They couldn't sense Yi Chen himself, and could only tell who it was from the special aura. As the cause of all this, Yi Chen frowned. Still can't kill him. No wonder in ancient times, many foreign race experts could only be sealed and not killed. This troll emperor's cultivation had been suppressed by two heavens, and his essence, energy, and soul hadn't recovered yet. He's still in a weak state. I'm afraid that before he was sealed, his strength was at the same level as Senior Yuan Emperor. But I've more or less understood this demon's cultivation. He's already reached the hundreds of thousands of years level. Compared to my true Yuan, his demonic energy is indeed endless. Just as this thought flashed through his mind, a ripple appeared in the void, and dozens of broad bean-sized meatballs squeezed out of the space. Yi Chen could tell with a single glance that these bean-sized meatballs had an astonishing quality. Their density even surpassed extreme-grade metals, which was the result of extreme compression. The blood and chi power emitted by one bean-sized meatball was more powerful than 10,000 ordinary people combined. The meatballs condensed like lightning, and then suddenly expanded, turning into the image of the Troll Emperor. You! The Troll Emperor pointed at Yi Chen, his face full of shock and anger. The other's attack had wiped out 1/3 of his cultivation. It had to be known that his demonic energy had reached the hundreds of thousands of years level, which was equivalent to those demons with heaven realm cultivation methods bitterly cultivating for tens of thousands of years. Moreover, he had condensed part of the blood mist at the critical moment, forming many meatballs, and then crazily compressing them. This way, the destructive power would be evenly distributed on the meatballs, and the more compact they were, the smaller they would receive. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to guarantee that he would be able to survive. Times have changed. You should be aware of this. At this moment, be it defense or offense, Yi Chen had surpassed his opponent. Previously, he was barely at the level of 7 stars. Of course, the increase in his strength was not entirely due to his cultivation base reaching the 3rd layer of life and death realm. It was also related to his body. Every single cell in his body contained the 5th step Immortal Sword Intent. Even without using Jin Yuan or Core Sword Intent, he could kill an ordinary life and death king with a single punch. The powerful sword intent contained within his cells allowed Yi Chen's control over his strength to reach the pinnacle. Not even the slightest bit could escape his senses. This kind of feeling was akin to a punch that could deal twice the damage. His mind and body were one, and he could erupt with all his might. Therefore, it was still the same sword art, but after the fine control of Jin Yuan, its might had greatly increased. This was already far beyond the realm of minute subtlety. Minute subtlety meant that one could see very clearly, but it didn't mean that one could do it that well. A drop of water might seem ordinary, but if its power could be completely aroused, its might would be astonishing. This was precisely the so-called turning the rotten into the magical. Yi Chen couldn't help but recall a saying: the human body was originally a small world with boundless potential. You might think that you had used up all of your potential, but the deeper potential had yet to be unearthed. External strength could be cultivated, and internal strength could also be cultivated. However, this kind of cultivation was not systematic, and could only be aroused by one's will. Lu Xiaoyou's life-burning sword and Duge Ju's blade filled with grief and indignation were both manifestations of potential bursting out. However, they couldn't control it, and could only act according to their instincts. Very good. You should be proud of being able to force me to this extent. However, I, Troll Emperor, also have some tricks that I haven't used yet. I'd like to see if you can withstand my full power fist. Sucking in a deep breath, Troll Emperor's eyes turned extremely cold. Boom! The heavens and earth shook. Troll Emperor's body leaned forward, as though he was about to throw a punch. A shocking scene occurred. In front of Yi Chen, another Troll Emperor suddenly appeared, and a fist was aimed at Yi Chen's chest. This kind of method could no longer be described with words. Speed was meaningless in front of him. Yi Chen's eyes revealed traces of shock, but he quickly calmed down. Actually, with the state of no sword in his hand, and no sword in his heart, he could block this fist. However, he wanted to test the extent of his defense. Boom! A sound like that of a drum rang out. A huge circle of ripples spread out, and Yi Chen's entire body was sent flying. However, the Troll Emperor's expression was extremely ugly. This punch only left a shallow fist mark on Yi Chen's chest. Before this, although Yi Chen could exchange countless blows with him without suffering any damage, that was the result of brute force. Yi Chen had never taken a single punch from him. Attacking against attacking, and being attacked, were two different concepts. The difference in damage received was like heaven and earth. I don't believe it. The Troll Emperor threw another punch. This time, the Troll Emperor far behind him disappeared, and in front of Yi Chen, a new Troll Emperor appeared. In other words, this ultimate move of the Troll Emperor could only be used by two people. It was impossible for three Troll Emperors to appear at the same time. This punch, the Troll Emperor, was aimed at Yi Chen's head. I don't have the hobby of being beaten. With the demon-slaying sword horizontally, Yi Chen borrowed the opponent's strength to deflect the opponent's fist and hit the air. Poochie. Following that, Yi Chen's sword fell, and the Troll Emperor's body was split into two. However, with two Troll Emperors existing at the same time, Yi Chen's sword could not hurt the Troll Emperor, unless he could hit both of them. There's not enough time. Let's kill the other demon kings first. With a thought, a sharp sword slashed towards the Troll Emperor. This was the 9 return to 1 sword technique. With Yi Chen's current use of strength, the Imperial Sword technique was enough to entangle the opponent, while his main body could escape. His body instantly disappeared, and Yi Chen appeared near an Elysium King and 3 Demon Kings. Without even looking, Yi Chen swung his sword and left. Poochie Poochie. The 3 Demon Kings completely disappeared. In the next moment, another 2-meter Demon King fell in another place, and then, in a short period of time, Yi Chen killed dozens of Demon Kings. Not a single Demon King was a match for his sword. Although he did not have Su Jing's crushing AoE killing ability, in terms of efficiency, he far surpassed Su Jing, because whether it was a 4-star Demon King, a 5-star Demon King, or even a 6-star demon, the result was the same. There was no difference. 1 man and 1 sword, Yi Chen completed a beautiful turn. Chapter 10:17. No. All the Devil Kings were frightened by Yi Chen's strength. With his speed, it wouldn't take long for him to kill all of them. The so-called occupation of Elysium and enslavement of Elysium was nothing more than a joke in front of him. Immediately, they were all stupefied. Powerful, this is true power. With a single person's strength, he overturned the entire battle. Jailer's eyes shone. In truth, as a king who had lived for a long time, he didn't care how many kings Elysium had. Unless the number of Elysium's kings could be multiplied by several folds, it was meaningless. What he cared about was whether there was an absolutely powerful character in Elysium. It was like raising goo. Countless goo worms would devour each other until a goo king was born. The value of this goo king would far surpass all the goo worms consumed. Without a doubt, Yi Chen was this goo king. He alone could accomplish what all the others combined couldn't. In other words, he alone was equivalent to hundreds or thousands of kings. This didn't mean that Yi Chen alone could contend against hundreds or thousands of kings. Rather, in a group battle, Yi Chen could kill so many kings, and no one could stop him. The current Yi Chen was equivalent to a titled monarch in ancient times. With him, Elysium would have the cornerstone to win against the other races. Kill. 3 6-star Devil Kings and 15 5-star Devil Kings joined hands and attacked. They couldn't ignore Yi Chen, who had killed too many Devil Kings. In just a short while, they had already lost more than 50 Devil Kings. Yi Chen's figure was light and nimble, but the feeling he gave off was exceptionally sharp. Sword lights crisscrossed the void, and with each flash, several devil kings would be killed. After 5 sword strikes, only one 6-star devil king remained. However, when Yi Chen turned around, this 6-star devil king's body suddenly disintegrated, turning into a pile of ash. Boom 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 boom, in the sky, hundreds of different colored light beams shot toward Yi Chen. These were the attacks of the puppet battleships. Any one of them could kill an ordinary peak king. This was a killing power that had been accumulated for a long time. Unfortunately, in Yi Chen's eyes, these hundreds of light beams were full of holes. After all, puppet battleships were puppet battleships. They needed people to control them. In terms of details, they couldn't achieve the same level of precision. These hundreds of light beams seemed to attack Yi Chen at the same time, but in fact, there were still some in front and some behind, and there were blind spots. Yi Chen only used one sword strike against the hundreds of light pillars with astonishing momentum. Bang! The first light pillar to attack Yi Chen was deflected by the devil-slaying sword, and as if it was refracted, it collided with another light pillar. Soon after, a scalp-numbing scene occurred. Like a chain reaction, or as if Yi Chen had already calculated countless times, the second light pillar changed its trajectory after colliding with the first, colliding with the third light pillar. The third light pillar blocked the fourth light pillar, and the fourth light pillar cut the fifth and sixth light pillars in half. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, all the light pillars lost their trajectory and exploded in the sky. At first glance, one would think that there was an invisible maze in the void. These light pillars entered the maze and madly exploded, but they couldn't reach the end, Yi Chen's position. In the puppet battleships, all the demons looked at Yi Chen as if they were looking at a ghost. One sword strike had destroyed the combined attack of hundreds of puppet battleships. Could it not be so exaggerated? Didn't this mean that the puppet battleships were just toys in the eyes of the opponent? Pang! 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 Suddenly, a large number of puppet battleships exploded. It turned out that many of the light pillars had changed their trajectories time and time again and shot into the sky. Although a lot of energy had been consumed while changing their trajectories, these light pillars had also fused with the energy of other light pillars. The puppet battleships naturally couldn't block them. Invincible. On the true spirit world side, everyone was wild with joy. Yi Chen's strength had already surpassed their imaginations. Although his strength had yet to reach the level of monarchs in ancient times, his techniques were simply unimaginable. They were very clear on how powerful the light beams from those puppet battleships were. Under normal circumstances, a single light beam would be enough to shatter the body of a weaker king. But, after accumulating power, it would have the destructive power to kill an ordinary peak king. Yi Chen had only used one sword strike to resolve all the dangers. It could be said that his technique was miraculous. The current him is no longer an existence that can be killed by numbers. Xian Ho also saw this scene. Roaming in the void, Yi Chen killed more and more devil kings. From a few dozen to 100, and then to 200, and then beyond 200. Originally, there were more than 500 devil kings, but now, only half remained. Yi Chen's existence was practically a nightmare for devils. Each and every one of them was incomparably terrified and had lost all morale. This couldn't be blamed on them. Since they could fight until now, they were naturally not afraid of death. However, the opponent was simply too powerful, to the point where they couldn't muster up any fighting spirit. For example, if the Elysium didn't have Yi Chen, just the Troll Emperor alone would be able to kill Elysium's morale completely. On the battlefield, the general commanded the entire army. However, if the general himself was an invincible existence and led the soldiers in a killing spree, the morale of the soldiers would soar, while the enemy would naturally be routed. It was the same logic. All puppet battleships, leave. At this moment, the Troll Emperor's voice resounded. Swoosh! Swoosh! Hearing his words, the less than 200 remaining puppet battleships simultaneously flew away. With Yi Chen present, they wouldn't be of much use, and could only add to the losses. It should be known that the value of each puppet battleship was astonishing. If all 400 of them were lost, even if they won this battle, it would be a Pyrrhic victory. Everyone, listen up. Our fiend ancestral tree is about to descend. Elysium's doomsday is close at hand. At that time, even 10 Yi Chen won't be enough to kill you. The Troll Emperor's voice was extremely cold and full of killing intent. The fiend ancestral tree is about to descend. There's hope. As long as the fiend ancestral tree descends, I'll be able to recover to the 5th layer of life and death realm. Coupled with the demon's martial arts, who will be my opponent? That's right. Who cares about Yi Chen? If we weren't suppressed, not to mention 10 Yi Chen, even 20 or 30 Yi Chen wouldn't be enough for us to kill. Hearing the news of the fiend ancestral tree's imminent arrival, the remaining demon kings were all incomparably excited. Soon after, their sinister gazes landed on Yi Chen. In their eyes, Yi Chen was already a dead man. Although the losses are great, as long as we capture the Elysium and complete the mission that the demons have failed to accomplish for hundreds of thousands of years, the higher-ups will still reward me greatly and won't punish me. The Troll Emperor didn't care about the casualties of the demon kings. What he cared about was whether he could capture the Elysium or not. Is the fiend ancestral tree about to descend? Su King's eyes were filled with regret. He didn't regret targeting the Chaos Demon Sea, but he regretted letting the Demon Flower Emperor summon the Demon Space. If the Demon Space hadn't been summoned, it wouldn't have been so easy for the demons to find the Demon Space. Now, everything was too late. He was very clear about the consequences of the fiend ancestral tree's arrival. In fact, whether the Demon Space was summoned or not, the demons could still find it. It was just that it would take a lot of time. Moreover, if they couldn't find the demon space, the demons wouldn't have attacked the Elysium so early. Delaying it for 1 or 2 years wouldn't change the result. After all, while Yi Chen was strong, the Troll Emperor's spirit was also recovering from the seal. Whether it was good or bad, no one knew. What should come has finally come. The Demon Flower Emperor sighed, a bitter smile appearing on his face. In an instant, the morale of the Elysium side fell. They couldn't imagine how powerful their opponents would be once the fiend ancestral tree descended. Yi Chen, you're dead meat. I, Togula, will be the first to kill you. A 6-star devil shouted at Yi Chen. I'm afraid you won't have the chance. Yi Chen's expression turned even colder. His whole body swept over, annihilating the opponent. Kill. Kill. The only thing Yi Chen could do now was to kill more demon kings. As for what would happen next, he couldn't care less. He would do his best and leave the rest to fate. Kill. The other kings of the Elysium also reacted. Who cared about the future? Since they were going to die anyway, killing a few more demon kings before they died was a good thing. The demons and demon kings originally had the advantage in terms of numbers, but after Yi Chen killed half of them, they were at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. They only had 200 people, while the Elysium side had more than 250 demon kings. Half of them were underground demon kings. With Yi Chen constantly reducing the number of demon kings, they started a real counterattack for the first time. Demon kings fell one after another. Unable to gain the advantage in terms of numbers, the Elysium side finally became stronger. Not only did they have an unparalleled existence like Yi Chen, but they also had the golden dragon Su Jing. Apart from that, the 6-star devils also had Murong Qingsheng, Xianhou, Jailer, Duguju, Su King, and the underground tribe's grand patriarch, the white-haired old man, and the brown-clothed old man. Other than the fact that their low-end combat strength was slightly inferior, in terms of high-end combat strength, the Elysium was above the demons. No. After the cursed demon emperor, another heavyweight of the demons fell. It was the Lord of Fear. He died under the joint attack of Yi Chen and the white-haired old man. With just one joint attack, the Lord of Fear completely disappeared. There's no time to lose. Let's join hands and kill the Troll Emperor. The white-haired old man suggested. All right. Yi Chen nodded. It would be extremely difficult for him to kill the Troll Emperor alone. If the white-haired old man cooperated with him, it should be much easier. However, at this moment, the space above the sea suddenly collapsed into billions of pieces. A huge ancient tree that connected the sky and the earth descended from the sky, taking root in the seabed. This was an ancient tree that emitted boundless demonic chi. It was much more terrifying than the demonic energy source. Its trunk was several hundred li thick and several thousand li tall. Its huge shadow shrouded the world. The demon ancestral tree had descended. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.